So, hi Rena and Christy, you're our line manager in CBH. Thanks for coming along. We're just going to do a really brief training package to get us up to speed with the incident that happened with Louis. This one's going to be an overarching, the guiding principles to our performance management scheme and how it works. I'd like you to ask some questions at the end of it so that we've got some clarity. So first of all, what I'm going to briefly outline is monitoring performance to meet organisational and legislative requirements. I'm going to talk about identifying performance gaps, how to implement disciplinary action and resolving disputes, and how to provide feedback to the teams and manage talent. I've got a bunch of handouts that are part of the training package as well, which I'll hand out a little bit later. But first of all, I just thought we'd jump into the overarching guiding principles. So for CBH, our performance development scheme is aligned to our strategic plan. So this is looking at how everyone can contribute to the overall strategy in everything they do. We're also going to talk about values and behaviours. So we're going to talk about the values and the mission statement for CBH and how the behaviours of our employees are replicated in that through our PDS scheme. So we're going to focus on not what we need to do, but how we go about things to achieve our outcomes. The PDS is a valuable business tool. It shows us about our workforce capability. It allows managers and workers to gain agreement and understanding on what's expected and how well employees are reaching their outcomes. Lots of this is based on your role description and then the elements that you need to meet after that. We conduct a formal PDS reviews and feedback that's twice a year. But we want you to have ongoing conversations, so we want no surprises. So this is the point of a formal review where we do the conversation, summarising all your feedback and communication throughout the year and whether you've met your targets or not. We also need to, when you're looking at seeing if your employees are meeting their targets, you need to look at what's important and meaningful. So business values change, different things come about, but we want to look at what adds value to a successful performance of the employee at CBH. We also have scoring mechanisms to see how people are tracking. But the most important thing to remember is that a PDS is a flexible and living document. So as business needs change, external factors come in, we need to be looking at things. For example, if I set a target for someone that was something to do with the number of items they'd completed and some external factor had come in, like systems had broken down, etc., of course you're not going to meet that, so we need to be constantly reviewing that. So the process of the PDS is that it's a continuous and cyclic thing. We plan our outcomes in May and June, we do ongoing feedback and do performance monitoring, we do a mid-year formal, which is in December, January, some more ongoing feedback and performance monitoring, and then at the end of the year, in May and June, we finish that off, we do a formal one, we produce it, we keep all our documentation. I'll talk about the way we've got to do records management later, and then we start the cycle again for the next year. So when you're looking at planning for how you're going to set up KPIs and looking after your employees to do a performance development, we need to look at the performance. We need to make sure that the personal plans are meeting the divisional plans, are meeting the department plans, are then meeting the strategic plan. So it's all about strategic goals coming right down to the individual and then going back up again. So that's how it works. So if we want to set some performance outcomes, we look at the individual objectives on each employee's PDP. Then we look at the manager's PDP, so what the manager's got to do, the person under them has got to perform. The division branch plans sit on top of that. The strategic objectives sit on top of that. And then on top of that again are the CBH vision, which is expansion, being awesome in customer focus, is simplifying our systems so that our grain can go from the dinner to the plate. When we're setting performance outcomes, we need to think about that, but also too, we need to make those objectives smart. So they've got to be specific measurable, achievable, relevant and time-bound. So there's no point giving someone on their performance development plan on something that they'll never meet, that's not relevant, that's not achievable, and that doesn't have a time factor around it. So some of those performance deliverables can be to do with targets. It can be to do with dollars. It can be to do with quality, customer service, time-bound and behavioural. So it's all about attitude, that can do, making it happen. In helping someone come up with some development, we can give some support, like we can help improve the overall performance of an employee. We can provide focus for the managers in order for us to figure out where we can coach people, because coaching is an important element. We can build skills for current roles, and then we can do a little bit of reward those that are doing really well and look at our readiness for future roles. We're also too, in part of the PDP, we look at career discussions. So it's all about our scope for improvements, new skills we can get on board, new ways to gain knowledge, short-term goals, 1-year career plans, 3 to 5 year development plans. We can also identify activities to gain career support and development opportunities, and that's through coaching, mentoring, training, special jobs, development opportunities, job rotations, secondments, that type of thing. So we have, for rewarding employees, we have a few options out there. The whole thing is all about an ongoing review, monitoring and feedback. So to do that, we do one-to-one meetings, we have open communication, we regularly converse, we be responsive if someone's brought up an issue. We identify areas that need to be addressed, and we can adjust our outcomes in our PDP to reflect those changes. That's those external factors I was talking about before. So the formal PDP has twice yearly reviews, and as I said, they go in 6 monthly sessions. We also rate people. So we rate them on, are they exceeding expectations? Are they meeting expectations? Is development encouraged? Is improvement required? And then we come to unsatisfactory performance, and that's where we get the most issues. So that's where communication is really important along the whole way. So your role as a line manager is to manage performance and align it with the divisional goals and the strategic outcomes. So they lead, and you guys will lead and conduct the PDS project. You provide clear direction for the level of performance that you want set throughout the performance outcomes and deliverables. You want to ensure performance outcomes are set in the CBH context. So that means providing ongoing feedback and monitoring and reporting, and encourage and support staff to undertake development to meet outcomes. As the staff member, they're the people you'll be training, they need to actively participate in their performance development. They need to work consistently towards achieving their outcomes that are agreed upon and set out in the PDP plans. They need to identify any support they might need. I need training, I need more support, I need to learn how to use this system. And they also need to be raising any concerns along their way and responding to any feedback that you're giving them. We need to document everything. This is a formal process, everything needs to be documented. We need to document the formal PDPs that are held twice a year. We need to store that information electronically and maintain confidentiality. We also need to ensure that HR have got all that information so they can look at it all in the big picture, identify training needs, identify gaps, identify needs into the future where our staff might need to go. We also need to be addressing performance issues. So along the way, if it looks like someone's straying off the mark, pull them in early, have that conversation early, don't let it get to the point where it ends up in crisis. That's where we end up in probably grievance disputes. I'll give you a little bit of training in that as well. The most important thing is that we need to be looking at our policies and procedures, our procedures in how to manage poor performance, our policy and the legislation under Fair Work on how to treat someone fairly, and privacy in looking after their confidentiality. Also too, in part of the training package, I've got a bunch of handouts that you guys can have a look at some point later. So I know that was really quick and fast, and you've already had a look at the stuff in the background that I've previously sent you about your email, etc. Just wondered if you had a couple of questions about the new performance management system and how you guys fit in.
So, let me understand this, Mark. The PDP is a tool used to monitor staff performance. Is its real intent to identify and monitor poor or underperformance?
Well, its true intent is to improve performance and to ensure that every worker has the skills and attitudes to contribute to the overall goals of CBH.
But why are managers responsible? Shouldn't the HR team be undertaking the PDP reviews?
Well, in the first round we did of the PDS, that's what it was like, but it was too far removed. So the concept is it's to build relationships between the line managers and your staff, so that you guys have got a much better understanding. The other thing too is you guys have a better understanding of the personal goals of your people, bringing us up to your goals, which then brings us into the big strategic line that comes with CBH, so we're all on the same page, all going towards the same view.
So how do we conduct hard conversations around poor performance?
Well, these are always tricky. The best thing, all I can say to you, is stick to the facts. Take away any personal value opinions you might have about someone and keep to the facts. For example, if you were constantly late, instead of going, "You're late every day," you should be saying something like, "I've noticed after the last 5 days you have shown up at work after 10 a.m. So you have to record and document everything so that when you go back and you want to have those hard conversations, you've got hard facts. There's no emotion and no personal opinion in there. And the other thing too is you've got to let them give their side of the story. I came in at 10 o'clock because my car's been broken down. I've had to go and look after my nana every morning because she's ready to go into a nursing home. So we need to consider not just our employees and how we want to get them there, but also how to nurture them and understand their personal situations.
So what type of performance measurement measures can I use in a PDP?
You can use, these are really good ones because this is really easy. You can use a target performance, you can use a dollar rate. Depending on what your area is, you might be operational, you might be more admin focused. It can be about your quality or the quantity of things you produce. It can be your level of customer service. But as long as all these things are time bound, you must respond within X amount of time. You must have, and it's all about your behaviour and your attitudes towards that. Obviously it depends on the role and the unit and your areas of responsibility within the CBH structure.
So how do we manage disputes and disciplinary action?
Well, CBH has a pretty robust system where we use warnings to ensure that affected employees are clear about the reason for the warning. We need to write down all the details, so again we're back to that recording. We need to set clear expectations about what needs to be done differently. You used to do it like that, this isn't working, this is what we need to move forward. Everybody needs to be in agreement. The warning is fair and reasonable within the circumstances. That helps us meet the legislation under the Fair Work Act.
So is the PDP and its outcomes, are they set in stone in between each review period?
No, actually, it's a living, flexible document. As I said before, external factors might come in. We might have a process or a system that doesn't work anymore. Therefore, we might need to bring in improvements and all that. All of that, this is a living document. If I was to say to someone, your target has to be 100 outputs every month, obviously if the system can't cope with that, we need to review that. You're not going to meet that, that's unreasonable, it's never going to be met. We also we'll be reporting that back up through my PDP, your manager's PDP, my PDP, and then looking at the strategic approach. That will help us change direction. Should we need to be, there might be market feeds that come in that give us into a different direction as well.
So how do we reward and recognise outstanding performance? Is there a link between good performance and a rewards program?
Definitely. Under our new system, we've got those that are outstanding achievers, we have a reward system that's linked to remuneration. So now you might get a bonus. In the past it was only given to a certain level, and there was lots of operational and technical staff that weren't involved in that. Now we've incorporated all of that, so everybody's on the same playing field, where if you're an outstanding performance based on our scorecarding, then you're a person who'll be up for remuneration, for job rotation, for development opportunities. While we like to link it to financial rewards because that's what people respond to most, other people respond to longevity. Now I've got myself into a situation where I can be earning X amount, in a higher position where I can be earning lots and lots of money into the future rather than a bonus that I'm giving you right now.
So how do I give constructive feedback?
Well, we've got a couple of models involved. We've got model 1 where you talk about the action, what they've done, the impact of what they've done, and a way to make it work better. Okay? And then you can do something like, when you do this, when you come in late, the impact is the rest of the team is suffering, or we're not meeting our team goals. You could do something like, what can you do to ensure that you're going to arrive in time so that the team isn't stressed and we can meet these goals together as a team. Or you can do something like, let's discuss why you've been late so often, for example. The other way is we could look at the other way, which is a little bit more positive, and we can say, so what worked, what I think worked well, what do you think worked well? Or you can do the other one that says, what would you do differently next time? So you can give them a scenario that didn't work. What would you do that would work next time? You're giving them that empowerment back where they can figure out what they need to do. So are we all clear? Did you have anything else
No,
to
I
talk
think
about?
you've answered everything. Mark.
Yeah, thanks very
Okay,
much.
great. All right. Well, we've got these handouts to look at that we can go through again.
Great.
Obviously, you can always come back to me if you need more assistance. We'll be rolling out this training package across every line manager. Just wanted to talk to you guys specifically about the situation with Louis.
Great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.